Good evening, everyone. Welcome into HogvilleNET YouTube Live. This is Kevin McPherson. Told this, obviously, I'm not in Bud Walton Arena or Fable tonight. Stayed back in the 501. Click a lot of miles on the odometer the last 7 days, all over the place covering basketball. Thought I would do the coverage here from home tonight on live stream, SEC Network Plus. And what a game this has been in terms of a close game. Everything else has been ugly. This has been like a rugby match. It's been a grind game. It's been down on the floor, a lot of reaching, a lot of deflections. Again, bodies spilling all over the place, just trying to track down 50-50 balls. It's a game that Troy led most of the first half. Arkansas had an 8-0 run to get within a bucket in that first half. And then Troy outscored Arkansas by 3 points. Again, back and forth, just grinding and ugly. Troy with a 1-point lead at halftime, I think it was 27-26. Arkansas's had a couple of nice little runs here in the second half. Went up by 7 after trailing by 3. I think it was a 12-2 run. Troy scored the next 2 baskets to get within 3, and now Arkansas's on another run, capped by Boogie Flan 3. Arkansas's finally coming alive behind the 3-point arc here in the second half. Big Z's hit a 3. Nelly Davis has hit a 3. Flan just hit a 3. Arkansas's on another run, having its biggest lead and the biggest lead for either team in this game as we get to the 10.5-minute mark, 48-38. Now, cannot do live play-by-play. That's against the rules here. So I'm just going to have commentary about the game in general. Then I'll follow up with some stuff that I see here off to the side a few plays after it happens. That way I'm not giving live play-by-play and I'm not in some kind of violation and go to copyright violation prison. I don't want that. I don't want to be in shackles. I don't think you want that either. But again, this has been a grind game, and Troy comes in holding teams to 7 of 37 coming into this game and going 2-0, 7 of 37 from 3, around 11%. We know Arkansas is not a good 3-point shooting team, so it's hard to know how much of this is Troy, how much it was Arkansas. But the Hogs were 1 of their first 9 from 3. They were 2 of 11 at halftime. They hit their first 2 threes to open the second half, and they may be now 3 of 3. I put some stats down, but the last few possessions, I kind of missed some stuff here, getting ready to come on here. Troy has done a good job of making this an ugly game on the floor. One of my contacts that has connections to the Troy staff told me early today, Troy's going to try to get up and down and make this a fast-paced track meet. It's been anything but that, but a lot of that's just because of Arkansas has dominated the turnover department, even though Arkansas has had its own share of unforced. But the points off turnovers have not been that disparaging because Arkansas, let's face it, blew some opportunities, not only after turnovers, but in transition. A couple of blown dunks in the first half. Adu Thero loses the ball, slips out of his hands, out of bounds, going up for a dunk. An alley-oop from Carter Knox to Big Z that should have been a dunk. We've seen a couple of more transition plays where Arkansas the ball slipped out. Now, Troy's done a really good job with its defense. I think a lot of people after the Baylor game thought the Razorbacks were going to be facing a zone all night. Troy's been in a man, but it's got a lot of zone principle because if you look at the on-ball defender, outside of that, they've got guys with 1 foot in the paint to help. So they're playing off their man, getting 1 foot in the paint on the weak side, and even some of that on the strong side when the ball's high. Just to stay a little bit closer to that paint because of Arkansas's ability to drive once it gets downhill. And then they're flaring out quickly, so in a sense, they're okay. So Arkansas continues to shoot better from 3. Z hit Arkansas's first game in the first half. He now has 2 in the second half. Arkansas has, I think, 4 second half, maybe 5 second half threes now. But the Razorbacks have their biggest lead at 51-39. We saw Boogie Flan with a little left corner three-corner pocket. Same thing with Big Z off a nice drive going right by DJ Wagner, and they kicked it out to Z. I think Wagner has assisted on some of these 3-point shots tonight. Nelly Davis had a nice ball fake earlier in the half for his first 3, only his second of the season. But Arkansas starting to thaw out. Big Z off the bench tonight. Trevor Brazil gets the start. And you got Big Z playing off the bench, so he's got 3 threes. He's hit a free throw, so he should be to double-figure scoring. I think Thero's got 10 or 12 points. Flan should be in double figures now with that 3 ball he hit. I believe that's right. He had a nice little pull-up off a drive into the paint, about a 12 to 13 footer. in that first run that got Arkansas. I think he capped that 12-2 run that got Arkansas a 7-point lead at 41-34. But the Hogs now just inside of 10 minutes, about 9:23 left, still up 12. Another turnover. It's just been a sloppy game. And we said Trevor Brazile started when Arkansas was down 16-10. Arkansas went on an 8-0 run. I mentioned that earlier, and he had a couple of tip-ins to start that run. The first 4 points of that 8-0 run that gave Arkansas just a brief 2-point lead, 18-16. But then he turned an ankle. He turned an ankle coming down odd, and we've said since non-conference, really going back to June and July when we saw how this roster was being filled out beyond the top 9 players with those, I guess you could say glorified walk-on types that are used for practice. And you were hoping they'd get one more player for frontline depth because you didn't have a lot there. You didn't have a lot in your top 9. You really have 3 bigs and a Duthero who's a 3-4 combo. At this level, he can play the 4, but you're really thin on that front line. Jonas Adu has not played much. Didn't check in until about 4 minutes in the first half. Didn't look very good out of the game, and he hasn't played in the second half. Arkansas hasn't needed him to this point. But watching another scrum on the floor. Man, it's been all night long. But having Trevor Brazile go out like that early in the season with an injury, we'll see what becomes of it. We remember this 2 years ago, and then we remember his struggles dealing with that comeback on the knee injury. This looked like an ankle. It was pretty clear that it was. But Arkansas is too thin on the front line. We said attrition would be a huge problem for this team when you only go 9 deep. You understand only 8 or 9 guys are probably going to factor in your game-to-game rotation. But it's why you always would like to have at least 10 guys or 11 that can impact and really help you if you have to go beyond that because of attrition, foul trouble, anything else that affects your roster. And Arkansas just doesn't have it. Certainly not on the front court. So we'll see where this goes. But right now, I think some of the positives tonight is physical as this game has been. It's like I said, a lot of slapping, reaching, deflection, a lot of deflections in this game. I think some of the things that stand out to me that's been positive for Arkansas is the resiliency, just hanging in there and battling. Arkansas has done a good job blocking some shots. They've gotten most of the steals. Last I checked, Arkansas led steals 12-6. Fast break was only 8-4 because, again, Arkansas has been really good in transition after getting live ball turnovers. Tonight, a few errors handling the ball, what should have been dunks, and Arkansas didn't get that done. And this is a tough Troy team. They've won, I think, coming into this year, 20-plus games in each of the last 3 seasons. A good Sun Belt team. You understand why they're holding teams of 38.8%. Arkansas at halftime was right just barely above 30%, 10 of 33. It's better in the second half. And the three-point shooting, this is the best I've seen it. Because if you go back, even in the big win over Kansas, everything after that and since then, including Kansas, Arkansas has been awful shooting from 3. DJ Wagner continues to struggle with his offense since that Kansas game as far as his own production. But tonight he's done a good job of moving the ball and getting guys helping them get to open shots and get open looks. I mentioned that second Z three-pointer of the second half, third in the game. DJ Wagner drove from left to right and then threw the pass back to the left corner. And that's how you get open looks, skip passes. Sometimes the next closest man, the defenders are able to adjust to that. But when you can make a skip pass or a look-away pass and cross the court up like that, as long as you're accurate with it, it actually helps you because defenders can't – it's harder to close out because you've got them tracking one way. You got their momentum going one way, and you've got their eyes one way. And so you throw against that. So Wagner's probably had his best game as a facilitator I've seen. Boogie Fland's struggling shooting the ball tonight. He hasn't been a good three-point shooter. He was against Baylor. And he's hit a couple tonight. He hit a deep one in the first half after Z hit Arkansas's first one. He hit a deep 3, kind of helped keep Arkansas in the game there. He's hit another one in the second half. So multiple three-point makes for him in the last 2 games. He's been really good inside the arc most of the season, and that wasn't the case against Baylor. And tonight in the first half, if you notice, he was short on a lot of his shots. He'd get into a little pull-up, use a little fake, get into a spot, and then he was short on it. Big Z for another 3, yeah. Yeah, we're going to talk recruiting here. I'm going to do – this will be an in-game that bleeds into a post-game. I'm not sophisticated. I don't have a laptop out here going through stats live right now. When I last looked, it was a few minutes ago, and Arkansas went from 30% shooting in the first half, was 37.5. They were 4 of 13 for 30.8% from three after going 2 of 11 in the first half. So started 2 of 2. And since that time, I think both Fland and Z have knocked down threes. So they're up to, I believe, 6 made threes. Troy started 2 of 4, and they were 3 of 13 total last time I checked. So they went pretty cold there. Not that they're not a good 3-point shooting team offensively either. They're just a lot better than their opponents, but still not very good. In Arkansas, getting to the free throw line, this is a game where there's been a lot of physical play. Again, bodies going to the floor. And when you continue to see that, you know that the whistles aren't blowing. There's not a lot of fouls called. And so the teams are playing to the dictates of the way this game is being called. Troy's going to play that way anyway, but they may have to make adjustments if they get in foul trouble. There's a lot of whistles. Same with Arkansas because you don't have a lot of depth. And so not a lot of whistles, but the last I checked, Arkansas was 7 of 11 at the free throw line, 63.6%. Troy 3 of 5 for 60%. So this has not been a game that's really the margins on the free throw line favor Arkansas +4 there. Arkansas now an advantage from the 3-point line. I never dreamed I would say that. And you look at this percentage, even the last I looked, it's 30.8%. It's got to be better than that after Z and Flan knocked 2 more down. Arkansas's 3-point field goal percentage in this half, right? They're showing it on here. So I'm not going to give play-by-play, but it's 80%. So I know they've made 4 this half. That tells me they've taken only 5. They hit their first 2, so 4 or 5. And you add that to the 2 of 11 in the first half. This is Arkansas's best 3-point shooting game so far by percentage. That's wild to me because this is a team, again, teams coming in made only 7 of 37 against Troy, around 11%, or excuse me, 18%, which ranked, I think teams were only making like 3.5 or 4 per game. That ranked 7th in Division I. And at that percentage, 18-something%, it was that ranked 11th. All right, Boogie Flans has not had a good night at the free throw line. He's missed a few. He's normally a reliable free throw shooter. So I got to wait a little bit here. Can't give play-by-play. All right, so we're a couple of possessions later. This is a tough part because Arkansas was up 12 after the under 8-minute timeout. Flan missed 2 free throws, and he'd missed 2 prior to that, but he missed both on the same trip to the line. And then Troy gets out in transition and runs off that and scores. So a 12-point game that could have gone to 14 is now back down to 10. In a game like this, a 10-point lead seems huge, but at the same time, with 7 minutes left, a team can get hot, you can go cold, and the next thing you know, it continues to be a dogfight. So Troy's a team that's been really good. They were a good offensive rebounding team coming in, nearly 16 offensive rebounds a game. At halftime, they were plus, or even when I came on with just over 10 minutes ago, they were +1 in offensive rebound, 9 to 8, but they were +6 in second chance points, 10 to 4. So they're really good at that. And then the 3-point defense and the rebounding, especially getting on the offensive glass. So Arkansas's gotten its own share of offensive rebounds. I mentioned Trevor in Brazil in the first half with a couple of tip-ins. And Arkansas's had Theo, a monster on the glass. Man, he's a really aggressive player. His ball handling skills aren't great, but if he can keep from losing the ball on his way in, I mean, if he gets near that rim, it's almost automatic. And Arkansas continues to at least block shots, even though they give up a lot of offensive rebounds and second chance opportunities. So now we're under 7 minutes now, getting close to 6.5 minutes to go. Man, it's really, watching DJ Wagner, he really has struggled. He really has struggled with his own offense after that Kansas game when he looked brilliant and had 24 points. He just can't buy a bucket from anywhere. And Arkansas continues to challenge at the rim. This will be an interesting stat line for Big Z tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Really good ball movement on a deep drive by Boogie Flan in the previous possession. Troy's on the other end now. Really good drive by Flan, got all the way in. Defense closed on him. He kicked to the left corner. Arkansas's gotten a lot of right side drives lately. Kicked to the left corner. DJ Wagner had an open 3, bypassed it, saw Big Z flashing up higher, coming up, and he was obviously wide open, so he made the next pass. Hockey assist for Flan, another assist for DJ Wagner on a 3-pointer. Wagner's got at least 4 or 5 assists tonight, and most of them are on threes. But Big Z, I guess, is at his 4th triple. Nelly Davis missed a 3 since we put those stats out a few minutes ago. Arkansas was 4 or 5. Now they should be 5 of 7 from 3 in the second half. That's really good. Arkansas, actually, it's a timeout. There's a timeout on the floor. Arkansas is up now by 13. So this is a game where you could say, well, maybe Arkansas is pulling away. You'd like to see Flan make both of those free throws. Then you've got a 15-point lead. This is a game coming in. I thought Arkansas would find a way to win. Mentioned that on my Drive Time Sports on the radio segment last night, 103.7 The Buzz, that Arkansas should win this and get to 2-1. But Troy, if you remember 2 years ago, when Arkansas had the 3 5-star one-and-dones, you got 3 really high-level 5-stars this year. You had them 2 years ago. Troy came in into Bud Walton Arena and gave Arkansas fits, hung into that game, hung into it. Arkansas ended up winning, I think, by 13 points in the end, but Troy was right there down the stretch. So that was a tough night. And one of those low scoring, I think it was 64-51, maybe 74-61. I'm trying to remember the score, but it was another grind game. This is the way Troy plays. And so Troy's still trying to hang around here as Arkansas leads as we get closer, closing in. Z's what? 5 of 5 from 3 now. Okay. Flan's got a couple. Nelly Davis has 1, so Arkansas is up to 8. Oh, I'm way behind. I'm way behind you because I had him with 4 threes, and now I see what happened. So I'm a little bit behind on my live stream. Yeah, and Arkansas has a 14-point lead with 5:26 to go. Z 5 of 5 from 3. That cures a lot. So Arkansas was 5 of 7 this half. Make it 6 of 8, 75% from 3. Better late than never. And now we see Boogie Flan has hobbled off the court with some kind of lower leg. Man, he's struggling over there trying to get to the bench. You see Ronnie Brewer, Carter Knox trying to help him. This is the problem. When you know you're only going to go 8 or 9 deep, that's true. That's true. They're going to have guys that are not happy. And Calipari has said, I don't want to be coaching guys that are going to transfer. And, we don't want it to affect chemistry and guys' mentality. But at the same time, you're just a few rough problems away from just not playing the kind of basketball you just don't have the numbers. And it forces you to play a certain way with the few bodies you have. And then you for a team that wants to play with pace, get up and down. Certainly, they haven't been able to do that tonight. That affects your wind as well when you have fewer guys to rotate in. So keep an eye on some of this injury stuff. Maybe Flan, it's not so bad. Maybe Trevor Brazil's not so bad. Arkansas doesn't play again until Monday. They'll host Pacific, but that's a few days off. But still, depends on how seriously Brazil is, whether or not he'll be available. Jonas Adu does not look like he's ready to play in this season. He just doesn't. It's probably a combination of things. Missing a lot of practice, still not 100%. His conditioning is going to be a factor anytime that's the case, and there are issues like that. So about 5 minutes to go, and they're working on. You could see it on the bench over there. Boogie Flan, they're working on him. Big Z's taking a seat here for now with 5:03 left to go. And Arkansas is really playing a small ball lineup. Adu, Thero is your big man. This is an important stretch here. And as long as Z's out, this is an important stretch. We know he got in foul trouble early because can Arkansas, defend? They had a good possession there. So Arkansas continues to build on its lead, a transition run out. John Calipari keeps talking about Billy Richmond being one of his third point guard. And you saw a defensive rebound 3 possessions ago by Richmond, push the ball the entire way, get to the middle on the other end around the free throw line extended, and then dish the ball right to a rim running Adu Thero. And you know what happens next. Slammo at the rim. Arkansas up 16 at that point. Troy has since scored. It's back to 14 as we're at 4 minutes to go. And this is just an insane 3-point shooting night for Arkansas in the second half. I've lost track of it now. I think the last thing I said was 6 of 8. I think he can make it 7 of 9. I think that might be right. Theriot gets his first triple, and Arkansas's up with another biggest lead of the game, 17 points, 62-45. And it's 3:44 to go. It's just been one of these crazy. There's been more sloppy loose ball, players not being able to hold on to the ball, and then of course you've got defenders constantly reaching, slapping. Man, Arkansas tonight has blown at least a handful of either lob plays or just point blank dunk opportunities in transition. I mean, there's been at least 5 of those. This thing might be a little more out of hand. So now Arkansas with 3 minutes to go, holding a 15-point lead. It was 17. Now it's down to 15. Arkansas is going to win this game. Some kind of crazy something would have to happen for that not to be the case. And the Hogs are tracking, I think, if I've got the numbers right now, 7 of 10 from 3. Arkansas is going to get to 2-1. This is the first, by the way, of 4 home games after this Baylor not neutral site loss. This will be the first of 4 home games against mid-majors. I mentioned Pacific on Monday, the 18th. Then Arkansas later the same week on Friday, the 22nd, will host the Little Rock Trojans, who lost, by the way, at Arkansas State last night in Jonesboro. Used to be a Sun Belt rivalry game. Now our Little Rock's in the Ohio Valley Conference. We're at a timeout here. And Arkansas State still in the Sun Belt, same league as Troy. Arkansas State's picked to win that league. Little Rock's picked to win the OVC, but KK Robinson's got a knee injury. He'll be out for the year, so the Hogs won't have to face him on December 22nd. That's the third of these 4 home games that started tonight with Troy. And then a week from Monday, on November 25th, that's Thanksgiving week, but that Monday, Arkansas hosts Maryland Eastern Shore. So that'll be the final of the 4 home games. And then we know in that stretch, then we know Arkansas will be on Thanksgiving Day, I think that's November 28th, in Kansas City to play Illinois in the Turkey Throwdown. Big Ten program that's been really good in the Big Ten. A really good team last year, not only in that league, but I believe Illinois had an Elite 8 run. But look, this Arkansas team's had its struggles offensively. We know it's not a good 3-point shooting team. It's been great in the second half from 3. If my math is right, 7 of 10, plus 2 of 11 at the first half. That's 9 of 21. So that's well over 40. I mean, you're pushing 50% at that point. You're pushing 50% for the game. That's unheard of. This is a team that's been in the 20s most games. I don't think they cracked 30% to end a game in either of the exhibition games or the 2 week 1 games. So this is pretty good stuff for Arkansas when you look at the second half anyway. And it's much needed. Again, this is a really good 3-point defensive team on top of Arkansas not being a good offensive team shooting from 3. Arkansas is going to win the turnover battle a big way. Points off turnovers, I think, in a big way tonight. Points in the paint, Arkansas has not been good other than Lipscomb, which he just kind of blew through that team like Swiss cheese because that's what the defense is like. We talked about that. I didn't do a pregame for the Troy game today. I had other stuff I was doing and wasn't able to do one of those. But I would have said Arkansas needs to get against this team, be better. This might be a better test, points in the paint. Arkansas was -8 when I came on here, and they've hit a bunch of threes here in this stretch, so they're probably still losing that battle. Fast break, Arkansas was doubling up Troy 8-4. I've seen both teams get some fast break finishes since we took that stat. Arkansas was 7-2 in blocks when I came on, and I saw at least 3 other block shots that I can remember. I'm guessing Arkansas is pushing double digits in blocks if the statisticians scored them correctly. And then steals again, Arkansas was 12-6 advantage there, so I don't know where that's at now, but that's part of that big turnover differential. But this will be a good win for Arkansas. This will be a Troy team that's, they'll be a decent team. Came in 2-0, 2 wins over mid-majors, of course. This is their first real big test. And now Arkansas is just trying to get to the finish line. So a 17-point lead that was the biggest. It's down to that's down to 13 with just over 2 minutes to play. And I guess the takeaway tonight is second half 3-point shooting and what was otherwise a really ugly game. It didn't feel like either team was going to ever do much from an offensive standpoint and getting any kind of flow or rhythm. So Arkansas has been in a better flow and rhythm in other games, except the threes haven't fallen. And then if you look at these last two games, when you count Baylor, Arkansas has had a lot of struggles other than just 3-point shooting. So this is an interesting game. Again, I think Arkansas's rim protection, winning the turnover battle, including a ton of steals. Maybe fast break wasn't what it should have been based on some of those dynamics. But Arkansas blew, again, a lot of opportunities, especially at the rim, just losing control of the ball. Both of these teams have been sloppy with the ball. Somebody needs to put Big Z in bubble wrap. This is insane. All right, we're at the next defensive possession. Z's hit another three, so if the stats are right, I guess he's 6 of 6. When was the last time an Arkansas Razorback made 6 3-pointers in a game? Made 5, made 4. I mean, I can't answer that. I can't answer that. I mean, you probably have to go back I would think that many, you might have to go back to Isaiah Joe or Mason Jones. There's probably someone that's done it since then, made 6. I mean, last season at Kentucky, they've got a stat up. I remember this. He was 37.5%, only played in 15 games. Very small sample size. He was 6 of 16 from 3, and it was 37.5%. He's 6 of 6 tonight. In one game, he's matched his makes from last year in 15 games, playing about 11 minutes a game. So it was a very small volume, but still, this is incredible. And if I'm remembering correctly, he made 1 of 2 free throws earlier. I don't know if he's got a 2-point, so he should be on 19 points if I've got that right. 6 of 6 from 3, 1 of 2 at the foul line. That's 19 points. He's close to a 20, unless I've missed a score here while I've been on here, but I don't think so. So Arkansas was up 17. It was cut down to 13. Then Z hits a 3, and Arkansas is back up 16 with 51 seconds left. I really think now several things that stand out in the offseason. Again, depth I thought was going to be an issue on the front line, especially if there was any attrition. We're already seeing that. I thought 3-point shooting could be a problem. It definitely is. I know the second half, I think now Arkansas may be 8 of 11 or 8 of 12 from distance. That's just, no one saw this coming. I mean, Z's on an incredible heater, but don't forget Nelly Davis, Theo, Boogie Flan, they've all hit threes in this half. All of them. Arkansas also has an air ball and a free throw on the front of a 1-and-1 this half, Thiero. So this is Boogie Flan had an 0 for 2 free throw trip. Arkansas's not really been good at the line tonight. So there's a lot of areas you want to see improvement in. I'd say guys like Nelly Davis, DJ Wagner with his shooting offense, his assist game was there tonight. Carter Knox hasn't knocked in a field goal in the last 2 games now. Those are 3 of your top 9 rotation guys, and there's a lot of question marks about their fitting in the flow in the flow of your offense and getting comfortable. They look uncomfortable to me. Jonas Adu, persona non grata still, 4 minutes tonight. Big Z 6 of 7. That means I'm behind and I'm going to catch an attempt. Yeah, I'm pretty far behind, I guess, on my version of the live stream. I'm going to tell you what, Z's had a lot of challenges at the rim. I mean, a lot. So this game ends Arkansas 65, Troy 49, a 16-point win. That was the margin in the season opening win over Lipscomb, a 16-point win, 76-16. That game we know Arkansas lost by 5. And a game that Baylor really outplayed Arkansas at both ends. When you looked at it statistically throughout the game, at the end of the game, what your eye test told you that, yet Arkansas found ways to stay in that game, give itself a chance to win. Baylor was is a good team despite a 38-point loss in its season opener at a top 10 ranked team in Gonzaga. So this is a good win for Arkansas. This is a good win against a good mid-major in Troy. Again, this team will make some noise this year in the Sun Belt. Yeah, it was ugly in the first half. And really, there was a lot of ugly stretches to start the second half. Then Arkansas starts hitting threes. I don't know what the final stat was in the second half, but Arkansas was 8 of 11, maybe 8 of 12 from three. I don't have it in front of me, but that's, the best 3-point shooting teams in the country want to finish a close game that way to stretch it out. Yeah, DJ Wagner's in a funk. I mean, the comment's right. That's why I said it. Nelly Davis got going a little bit. He had a mid-range shot in the first half that hit the rim, bounded high, and fell through. He had a transition finish, and when Arkansas was trying to get that little run going and built that 7-point lead, I think his layup gave Arkansas a 2-point lead at some point. And then he had a three. He had a nice ball fake. Guy flew by on the closeout. He just stepped up right up to the line and knocked down a three. Just stroked it, man. I mean, it was pure and pretty. So Arkansas ends up a respectable. I mean, Arkansas ends up making, I think, if I'm just going off what I remember stats, if 8 out of 11 was correct in the second half, 2 of 11 in the first half, that's 10 of 22, or they're 10 of 23, but they got to 10 tonight. Z with 6, Boogie with 2, Thiero with 1, and Nelly Davis with 1. So by my math, that's definitely at least 10. Kebby is a beautiful human being. Well, oh, that's Greg Parker. He's expected to say things like that. All right, Greggy, Kebby, Greggy. I've known Greg for a long time. Look, this is college basketball. Midweek game, mid-major team. Anything can happen. Troy, again, gave Arkansas fits 2 years ago, lost by 13 in the end. Gave Arkansas fits again tonight. And again, Arkansas finally got over the hump. They never could do that against Baylor. And the Razorbacks then building up those double-digit leads in the back half, those last 10 minutes. And then just keep adding to them when Big Z's hoisting threes. It didn't matter what Troy did, but Z on the other end, he challenged a lot of shots. He took on, and remember, Troy's physical. They're trying to get into you. They don't mind contact. They're not, dribbling in. If someone's there, they're circling back out or putting up an off balance. They're trying to get into you and finish going to the rim. And Z took on some of those challenges. Thiero is, and he got some blocks. Billy Richmond's one of those guys. He's going to do that too. Trevor Brazile will block shots. He's not as much a guy that you're going to get into his chest and then worry about him blocking your shot. He's more of a weak side coming in space, getting out of his area shot blocker. But he's met some challenges one-on-one and gotten some blocks that way. Jonas Adu, we just haven't seen enough. Again, 4 minutes tonight. Kevin, that was great, in my opinion. I'm not sure which part was great. The 3-point shooting. I mean, I didn't do a pregame show. I didn't do that. What I did do, I'd always do a pregame article, and I went through the keys to success for Arkansas, and I think I only had 3. And one of the things that I talked about in there was Arkansas's 3-point shooting, and I said what the doctor really probably orders tonight would be a turnaround, a resurrection, some kind of a turnaround from the 3-point line. And I finished it up by saying, even if it's an outlier, because you're taking on a team that's really good defending the three, or the percentages say they are through 2 games, small sample size, but Arkansas has been bad in concert with a good 3-point shooting team. Maybe it was time for that to start happening. And I wrote that. First half, I thought, well, that's out the window. They look like they do. Second half, most of it, while I'm on here with you guys, just kind of glancing over and seeing this, it's wild. Because we haven't felt this. We haven't seen this. We haven't even had any notion this might happen. I don't know that we've seen back-to-back possessions this season where Arkansas knocked down a 3. They had that tonight here down the stretch. They had several possessions. Even if they weren't all back-to-back, they had them in bunches of knocking down threes. So even when Troy scored, come back and hit a 3, it's 3-2, and you're adding to your lead. You're not just maintaining a lead, you're adding to it and pushing that out. Again, it was up to 17, 13, then back to 16. Arkansas wins by 16. This is good for Arkansas. It's good to feel this and have this, even if it's an outlier for now shooting from 3. Maybe guys are going to start getting some confidence. Again, it was a weird night. Boogie Fland, 2-3 in the game before. He was a really good inside the arc prior to. He's not been as good inside the arc as he's been outside. And then tonight, Arkansas wasn't very good, including Fland. He's one of the better free throw shooters. I can't say enough again about Big Z. 6 3-pointers. The last I looked, he was 6 of 6. Someone posted here 6 of 7. I did not see his miss. I'm not saying he didn't, but that's out. That's insane. And again, I don't know how many blocks he had, but he had a lot. And Arkansas, I think, was probably in excess of 10 blocks tonight, and probably pushing 15 or so steals. Because the last I checked, it was 7-2 in blocks, 12-6 in steals, advantage for Arkansas. You look at those blue collar hustle plays, Arkansas was winning those, and you would think, where's the cushion? Why did they just need to hit threes if they're doing all that? Why? Because they weren't good in transition for the longest. They got some late. But remember that first half of Theo loses the ball out of bounds. Would have been just a nasty hammer at the rim. Nobody contested him. No one was around him. Carter Knox to Big Z, and he, the ball, he missed the dunk, and he had a couple of more of those later on, similar 2 or 3 more plays throughout the game like that. And so when you're not getting those easy scores like Arkansas has done throughout exhibition season and these first 2 regular season games, when you're not getting those for a while because of your own unforced stuff, it makes all those hustle plays. They're not as impactful on the scoreboard where you'd like them to be. But for Arkansas, man, if someone's got the final 3-point shooting stats, please post them. Please post them. I'm in the blind here. I'm guessing something like 10 of 22 or 10 of 23. Just trying to cobble it together with what I saw after writing stats down before I came on with about 10 minutes left. But you build on this. You go into Monday against Pacific 2-1. You try to add to that. You fell only 2 spots in the poll to 18th. Arkansas came in today ranked 32nd in KenPom. The NCAA net rankings aren't out yet, but 32nd in KenPom. 18th this week in the Associated Press poll. Only fell 2 spots after the Baylor loss on Saturday in Dallas. In the coaches poll, Arkansas fell 5 spots. So they were also ranked 16th in that preseason poll. The first regular season poll that updated after the first week of games, Arkansas 1-1, lost to Baylor. Coaches dropped Arkansas 5 spots to 21. Most people track with the AP poll, but there is a USA Today coaches poll. There's always been a coaches poll. Back in the day when I was a young man, it was called the United Press International, UPI. AP top 25 was media. UPI top 25 was really the coaches. And then Arkansas again 32 in KenPom. So I think Lenardi dropped Arkansas from a projected 4 seed, his Tuesday update yesterday, down to a 7. But again, you're 1-1 in week 1. And of course, net rankings are going to impact everything once those come out later. And Arkansas, I mentioned it, 4 games at home against mid-majors. This was the first. You got 3 more upcoming Pacific on Monday. Friday of next week, it's Little Rock Trojans, in-state D1, the first of 2 that Arkansas will play this year because they'll play UCA and North Little Rock at Simmons Bank Arena in December. But after Little Rock on the 22nd, you're home again on Monday, bookending the weekend with Maryland Eastern Shore. So that'll be the 4th and final of this 4-game homestand at Bud Walton Arena against mid-major schools. And you expect Arkansas at that point. I mean, they're 2-1 now, 3 more to go, to be 5-1 going into that game against Illinois. And potentially, if you're winning and some other teams are losing, maybe moving up a little bit in the rankings. But again, a 16-point win over Troy. This is not like a team you see coming in that's really bad and you're like, man, if we don't win by 25 plus, something's wrong. It's not that kind of a team. It wasn't 2 years ago when Arkansas won by 13, and it wasn't tonight. This is a team that could end up winning 20 games. I'm not going to predict that, but it's one that could. And the Sun Belt's a good mid-major conference. Troy, again, 3 consecutive seasons winning 20 or more games. So that's a good mid-major program over there. Final stats, I'm not looking at them. I'd be interested to see where Arkansas, not only the 3-point shooting, that to me is the story tonight. What else is there on a night where the game was ugly and grinding and the ball was being kicked around? What else is there really to say? All right, let's hit recruiting. 40 minutes in. Big win for Arkansas tonight. Big Z was a hero off the bench after starting the first 2 games. Trevor Brazil's a question mark now after going down with an ankle injury in the first half like we saw 2 years ago. God forbid it be another situation where he's out for the season. I don't want to stir that up or start that. I'm just reminding you that's what happened. In fact, with Adu, I think he had 7 minutes in the first game against Lipscomb. He had 9 minutes against Baylor. And I think tonight he played his fewest minutes, 4. So it's not like he's progressing in terms of what it's showing on the court and his ability to impact. So you got some question marks there coming out of this. All right, let's talk recruiting real quick. huge week, huge day for Arkansas. Monday, we know. And that was the last time we were on to celebrate and to talk about Malik Thomas, the second national top 10 rated 5-star guard to commit to Arkansas, joining Darius Jacob Jr., who joined him on his visit in early October. And they joined each other today in signing ceremonies. The NCAA got rid of the national letter of intent. High school players are now doing what the transfers do. They sign these financial aid agreements. With transfers, I told you guys a million times, with a national letter of intent, if you want to get out of that, you have to petition the school. There was a process to the NCAA. If the school denied it, it was a big mess, and it's become more and more lenient. It had become more and more lenient. But with those financial aid agreements, those transfers could sign 15, 30, a trillion of those with a million schools. I know those math numbers don't add up. And it's wherever they enroll is what matters. The financial aid agreements weren't binding either way. Well, they weren't binding for the player. They were for the school. National letter of intent binding both ways. That's gone. High school players are signing these financial aid agreements. I don't know if there is a different standard for the high school kids in terms of it being binding for them. I would think that it's not, similar to the transfers, because it's basically floodgates are open for players moving around and having freedom of movement from whatever school they've chosen or played at to move on. So that's what they signed today. Malik Thomas and Darius Jacob Jr. Man, I spent a lot of time on explaining that. The point here is, and the good news is, they're official now. ACUF committed back in late July, 48 hours ago or whatever it was. It was Malik Thomas off the board of Arkansas. They both got their paperwork done today. Okay, so as you guys know, Isaiah Sealy, we've been talking about him, class of 2025. He's the next one coming off the board. ESPN national number 55, a 4-star. I was there when Arkansas hosted Kansas for that charity exhibition game on October 25th. I went to Springdale earlier in that day to attend practice and to catch Sealy. He's a really good player, 6'7" combo guard, versatile, can play the 1, 2, or 3. Went to watch him, talked to his coach, interviewed him, tweeted that interview out. But I found out, that he'd been to Arkansas's campus just 2 days prior to that to attend practice. And then he and his dad met with Calipari after that practice. And then he told me, and I'm going to the game tonight. He was going to the Arkansas-Kansas game that night, which he did. And so we've been talking about this. He then released shortly after that a Final Four of Arkansas, Ole Miss, where he took an unofficial visit, California, and Boston College. Boston College of the ACC had offered him a scholarship the day I was there. He had just gotten it and had just put it out on, I think, his Instagram when we started talking. But either way, things were happening that day, and I learned a lot, talked about it on multiple of these. But in the last few days, it's become clear, even though he told me in that interview that he might wait till the spring. I've written and said on here a bunch, let's keep an eye on that. I've just got a feeling, especially if it's Arkansas, they're going to try to get it done early. Plus, I'd been told something else about him in Arkansas that day. So I've been efforting in the last few days to do a live stream for his announcement. He's going to make it on Saturday. Isaiah Sealy's going to make an announcement on Saturday. I don't have final word yet. It's an interesting day. Sealy and Springdale will be in Central Arkansas. They'll be playing at Jacksonville High School and in a showcase game. A game that will count against Little Rock Christian Academy, 2-time defending 4A state champs. LRCA's moved up to the 5A. Jashawn J.J. Andrews, class of 2026, the other player that Calipari's offered in the state. So just Sealy and J.J. Andrews so far. Andrews ranked 15th by ESPN, 5-star. Those teams are going to hook up. These are two of the best teams in the state going into that matchup. But that'll happen at 8:30. I think it tips around 8:30 Central Time. Well, Arkansas is hosting Texas in football, and I think that's an 11 a.m. kickoff. And I know Springdale's travel plans and what time they're going to leave. So I've been trying to figure out, is Sealy trying to get confirmation? I don't think it's decided yet if he's going to try to attend part of that game, because we're going to talk about Caleb Wilson. He'll be on his visit, the top 10 rated 5-star frontliner for that game and for the weekend. So I'm still trying to determine, is Sealy going to be at that game? What are his announcement plans exactly? And I'm trying to coordinate doing the live stream with him. That may or may not happen. I don't have final word on that yet, but I was trying to keep some of this on the down low. At this point, I'll just say it. I think he's going to end up being a Razorback. I think that's going to happen. Everything I've got points to that. He's going to make his announcement. It may or may not be with me on a live stream, but that's what I hope works out. But Arkansas, I believe, then by Saturday we'll have a third player off the board. And I fully expect if he's committing, he's also has either signed his letter of intent, and Arkansas will quickly release confirmation of that after his announcement, or he'll sign it that day and get it done so it can be certified. Remember, the week-long NCAA early signing period started today. That's why you had Acuff and Malik getting their stuff done. It's happening all over the country. And then it ends on the 20th. So next week, it's a week long every year at this time. But I believe Isaiah Sealy gets it done. Now, look, I've said this. Arkansas's got the best backcourt recruited class in the country. That's it. There's no debating that. They've got the two highest rated guards in tandem. There's one guard rated ahead of them, and Darren Peterson, but that's one, and they're two. This is the best, the number one backcourt in the high school recruited class for 2025. You add Sealy to that, and all you're doing is bolstering that. And you have an argument for the best class period right now, the way things are lined up with other teams and who they've got committed and signed. You've got arguably the best class in the country, regardless of how you look at it positionally. But for certain, the best backcourt. And when you add Sealy, I believe that's going to happen. You get to three. Calipari said over and over again he's going to take 3 or 4. Those are his rotation guys. He recently upped that and said 4 or 5. And he's either talking about 4 guys that he plans for his rotation and a 5th guy for development. Because remember, outside Arkansas's top 3 freshmen that are in your rotation, your top 9, you've got 3 other freshmen technically in the others, the guys outside that top 9. So I don't know where Sealy fits into that, but I could easily see Arkansas trying to get, if you add him, 2 more guys that are going to factor in and be impacts. And the way Sealy plays and where he's rated and what Arkansas thinks about him, here's what they love about him. At 6'7", they like his length and his ball skill. He can play the 1, 2, or 3. I said that. They have seen him with Team Thad on a loaded Team Thad on a really good Nike EYBL circuit. They watched him, even at Peach Jam. I think when Calipari watched him, he had a double-double in one of those early games. But they like the way he plays with other high-level guys and fits in. He's complimentary. They love that about him. This has been a serious recruitment. A little different than some of the other ones, but serious nonetheless. Arkansas coaches have been on Springdale's campus at least 3 times. I know everybody really wants to move on now. So I think when the dust settles, Arkansas is going to have at least 3 players in the fold for this early period, including, with Isaiah Sealy on that wing to add to the 1 and 2 of Acuff at the 1, Malik Thomas an elite 2. And some of these guys are versatile. Again, I mentioned Sealy being able to play the 1, 2, or 3. I think Malik Thomas is an elite 2. He can help you at the wing. He can be out there with 2 other guards. And there'll be times you can run ISO through him and play through him at the 1. Acuff it will be the floor leader, though. He'll be the primary ball handler out of that group, but it'll be a really good group. Again, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Isaiah Sealy's going to make his announcement on Saturday. I just think it's going to be Arkansas, and I'm talking and speaking as though in the future that's what's going to happen. So that's what I believe. All right, Caleb Wilson. Also, you look at the composite rankings, I think he's 5th. I know ESPN has him ranked 5th best player in the class of 2025. 6'9" combo forward, Holy Innocents out of Atlanta. Calipari's made a priority out of him multiple times down to see him since the early September recruiting period opened up that we're currently in. Been down there multiple times, took the 2 associate head coaches, Kenny Payne and Chin Coleman, with him the last time he was out there, the last time I knew he was out there. He had a couple of visits playing with Arkansas forever. It was going to be sometime in late October. That faded away. Then he had announced he was coming the following weekend, the weekend that Arkansas was playing basketball on a Friday in Fort Worth against TCU in an exhibition game. Football Hogs on Saturday against Ole Miss. He could have made that work. That football game was a debacle. The visit never happened. Probably a good thing. And now he's back on for this weekend. And we always said there was one more weekend. You're running out of calendar for the early signing period. There's one more. The football team hosts a game against Texas. We know the basketball team will be going through practice. He'll attend both of that, all of that practice, basketball practice, and the football Hogs versus Texas. But there's no basketball game this weekend. Remember, again, the next game Arkansas has is at home again at BWA against Pacific on Monday. So you've got time to, you don't have to worry about a game and folks and all that. You can focus on the recruit on campus. And we don't know for sure if he's going to sign, but man, I've said forever, I'm getting conflicting reports talking to other analysts and national guys that aren't sure he's going to get it done early. Same with Chris Sinak Jr., but I've always said I'm not so sure about it, partly because they lined up all their when they've done their cut list to where they are now. And they're not down to 2 or 3 yet, not in terms of what they put out publicly, but what they have out publicly, they visited all these schools, maybe with 1 or 2 exceptions on the schools that you don't really think are in the top 2 or 3 anyway, if you're trying to piece together what that might be. So to me, if you're getting them all out of the way now, it was kind of I don't think it's by accident that you had these visits leading into the signing period, even though this is into the signing period when this visit will happen, right in the middle of it. But you'll still have a few days to get it done. So keep an eye on Caleb Wilson. The last known visit for Chris Sinak that was always going to be LSU. That was what he did last weekend. So again, some people think they're going to wait. Some are not sure. I tend to think I'm not sold that either one of them aren't going to get it done in the early period. But I wouldn't be shocked if they both drug it out to the spring. Is there something to do with leverage on NIL? What's the deal? The last number I heard from Kentucky offering Wilson was $2.2 million. It started to get the first ante they upped, got it to just over $1 million. Then it jumped to 2. Last I heard, 2.2. I mean, you're continually having to raise the bar, and there's a lot of thought, well, maybe Kentucky's the leader there. Maybe Kentucky is. Maybe Kentucky's going to get him. But they've had to up their ante a lot, and there are some that think, well, he's going to the highest bidder. So maybe they're getting the number up to a point where they're like, we're going to be the highest bidder, and we really want you, and you want to be here. Because he's had a lot of positive stuff he's said and put out on social media related to not only his visit, but other guys, Caden Lewis that just committed, all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of momentum there. He's certainly been more active about Kentucky than he has his North Carolina recruitment, which a lot of people see them as, it's Kentucky and North Carolina there in that mix. Now Arkansas's got to be there. He's going to make this visit. I mean, I guess he could cancel it, but it sounds like he's going to make it. Sounds to me like he's going to get there. But we're at only Wednesday, so what do I know? That could change. And we'll circle back if it does. But right now, I think he's going to, as I see it now, it looks to me like he is going to make it to campus this weekend. And now you've got John Calipari, who's the best to ever do it in recruiting. And Arkansas's got plenty of NIL money. I always say this. Arkansas has limitations on its valuations for players. Caleb Wilson, in my opinion, is the best defensive player in the country, regardless of class. He is switchable on all 5 positions. He will primarily, at the next level, guard wings, small forwards, and fours, whether they're stretch fours or traditional fours. That's going to be his wheelhouse. But he can switch off onto guards and be competent, staying in front of guys, getting deflections. He can also help you guard a big man, a 5, someone bigger than him, because of his length, athleticism, and instincts. He gets a lot of steals. I think in the Nike Peach Jam run, he helped Knight Riders Elite 17U win that. He averaged over, I think, 17 plus points, shot nearly 61% from the field, 7 rebounds per game. But what I really liked, 3 blocks and over 2 steals per game. So you call those blocks, steals, combine them stocks. He's between 5 and 6 stocks a game. And then when I watched him, it wasn't just that. He was getting deflections. He's disruptive. It's hard to finish around him because he's challenging everything. His offense is emerging. He's a really good slasher, above the rim finisher. You can count that in half-court offense, lob threat, a transition guy. He's starting to figure it out from the perimeter and get his dribble drives into shots. I noticed you could see that he started to add some of that. He told me he worked out in June. Instead of going to these all-star camps, he spent the entire month working out in California, in Los Angeles, worked out with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, a Cal guy. From the days back in Kentucky, led Kentucky to its only national championship that they had under Cal in his 15 years there. But Caleb Wilson is a guy that's just gotten better and better. He needed to be more consistent. He added to that the last times I saw him play and became that. So he's worthy of that top 5 ranking. Where is Arkansas with him on NIL? Where do they see themselves there? It could come down to Arkansas figuring out whether it's him or Sinak, one or the other. Sinak took that LSU visit. A lot of folks have thought, I've thought maybe LSU's in the lead there. Good recruiting class so far. They'll wheel out the NIL barrel full of money for him. And it's home. He's from Baton Rouge. But again, the Calipari factor. No one has his track record with getting guys drafted high. Really are, getting guys. So they've had guys that I thought got drafted too high. And a lot of that's on the strength of that brand, the Calipari brand. He gets guys ready. And then he's got a lot of max contract guys. So he's got more resume on what these kids want in terms of getting to that next level and maximizing it. Yeah, NIL for a year is nice. But highest bidder, let's see what happens there. The other factor with Caleb Wilson is the Rich Paul angle in Clutch Sports. We've talked about that, so you got to wonder about that. Sanak with Malik Thomas committing to Arkansas, put the eyeball emojis on that a couple of days ago, and I think he also he reposted on Instagram. Maybe it was Malik Thomas's commitment that he reposted, but he's done a couple of things interacting on social media that are positives. These kids all know each other. They become friends. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, but you got to figure with Sanak, it's probably LSU, Arkansas, and Kentucky with maybe Tennessee in there. And then with Wilson, it's Arkansas, Kentucky, and North Carolina. Kentucky's, I would say, is probably the leader right now with Sanak, with Wilson not having made it on campus yet. And I would say probably I'm still in the camp that maybe it's LSU. Although if it's not LSU, I think it's Arkansas. I now think it's Arkansas right there if it's not LSU. But I don't have enough information right now to put Arkansas on the driver's seat for either one of these guys. But again, you haven't had Wilson on campus yet. All right, almost an hour in. I'm going to sign off. Sean Abayev, another top 25 rated guy, took his visit into Arkansas in early October. Been kind of quiet on when he might announce. Arkansas's in his final five. There's some folks out there that think Arkansas would be in the lead for him. Mika Murinen's probably going to wait to the spring to make an announcement. He visited Arkansas, class of 2026. The reason I say spring, if he reclasses, it'll probably happen in the spring, and that's when he would probably commit. Arkansas might be in great position there. He liked his visit there more than others so far. And really, right now, for now, that's it. Thank you for being here. Until next time, thank you for joining me on HogvilleNET YouTube Live. Please hit subscribe, like, and share if you like the content. I like bringing it. Take care, and I'll see you next time.